Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Huzur says that the translation of the verse is like this, that you call to this way of Allah with wisdom and goodly exhortation, and discuss with them, argue with them with such argument which is the best. Certainly Allah Almighty knows best the one who has gone astray from the right path. He knows better than anybody else, and He is also fully aware of those who have attained guidance. Huzur says, in several countries of the world and in the Jamaats over there, in their Majalis-e-Shura, the consultation meetings, they put this suggestion and they discussed thoroughly on the subject, and they also worked out their roadmap. They proposed that how can we further the task of presenting the Islam and presenting the real message of Islam in every section of our country. How can we improve and perform it in a nice way, the task of conveying this message, or can we establish it on better foundations? The Jamaat Ahmadiyya Britain as well this year, in the agenda of Majlis-e-Shura, this proposal was there, on which Majlis-e-Shura, they discussed the subject thoroughly, and after the consultation they presented their roadmap, the plan, and sent to me for acceptance, for approval. But we should remember all the time, whether it is a planning for the work of Tabligh or for any other task, the planning is there. The Majlis-e-Shura, when they plan for anything, various opinions from the members of the Shura, they are presented, they come forward, and then a final opinion is, or the majority of the members of the Majlis-e-Shura consultation meeting, they come to a certain thinking and conclusion. And then in order to implement that plan, a full plan, a roadmap is presented to the Khalifa of the time for the final approval. And when the approval is granted, then to act upon that with their all the capabilities and abilities and strength in order to get it implemented, and also to make it implemented. This is the responsibility of the members of Majlis-e-Shura, and on every stage the office holders of the Jamaat, they are responsible for that. So when this proposal that in order to improve the quality of Tabligh, or in order to expand that task, the Majlis-e-Shura in Britain, they discussed this subject, and finally they came to conclusion. And then in any country of the world, the consultation was taking place on this subject, and finally for the approval, the decisions were sent back after the approval of the Khalifa of the time in order to implement and to get it implemented. Then every member of Majlis-e-Shura, the consultation body, and all the office holders at every level, now they have to put in their best efforts to get it implemented. Do not think that as a proposal is related to Tabligh, therefore only Secretary Tabligh is responsible for that he should do it. Or and if there is a proposal related to any other department, then only that particular secretary is responsible. No doubt, in order to get it implemented, the relevant secretaries are directly responsible. But particularly the Tabligh and Tarbiyat, these two departments are such that in that every office holder of the Jamaat at every level, their participation and to show their example is very essential. At this time, as I want to discuss the subject of Tabligh, so with that reference, I would like to draw the attention of all the office holders in the Jamaat that they should, regarding the implementation on this proposal, in order to get this proposal which is approved, to get it implemented, they should fully cooperate with that. And also by becoming the part of that, they should present a good model and example for other members. Any office holder, whoever he may be, in one way or the other, they can take part in Tabligh. And if the office holders are taking part, so then in front of the members of the Jamaat, they would be presenting their good example. And there are several Ahmadis who are such that without even being reminded, or without being reminded especially, automatically by looking at those good examples, in order to fulfill this project and plan, and in order to convey the message of Islam fully, they will automatically come and join in this struggle and plan. Some of the secretaries, they do not have much work of their own department. They can even give more work, more time for this project. The only thing is the intention and their determination. Anyway, it is the duty of the National Secretary Tabligh that whatever a plan has been devised, that should be conveyed to all the secretaries Tabligh in each Jamaat, and then make it sure that each member of the Jamaat he does get to know that part which is related to the members of the Jamaat, and that part which is not administrative thing but relates to the people, that must be reaching them, all of them. But most importantly, the verse which I have recited, in this verse Allah Almighty has guided us, the guidance which He has given. They have to understand this guidance, and according to that, every secretary Tabligh should go for implementation. Every office holder, they should act upon that, and the special preachers, Da'iyane Khususi, they should also implement that. I have mentioned the Da'iyane Khususi, the special preachers, because these are the people who have offered themselves as and offered their services, that we will give more time as compared with other members of the community for the purpose of Tabligh. The other members, if they give more time and they are knowledgeable, but if they are not fully mindful of the responsibility which Allah Almighty has mentioned in these verses, then there will be not much blessing in that, and nor better results will come out which can possibly be there. Anyway, Allah Almighty has drawn the attention to this point. Referring to this verse, Huzur says that the first thing is the Moizatul Hasana, that goodly advice, exhortation, and also use that sort of argument in your discussion, which is the best. Nowadays, the so-called ulama of these days and the terrorist organizations and groups, because of their madness and without using the hikmah, the wisdom, and without logical argumentation, they have defamed Islam so much in the eyes of the non-Muslim people that they think that there is no wisdom in teaching and there is no argument in the doctrines of Islam, and this the religion is of, God forbid, of the foolish people, and only the terrorism is the answer to the problem. So in these conditions, according to the instruction of Allah Almighty, to preach according to this verse and to preach and to establish the Tabligh contacts, this is a very important responsibility of all Ahmadis. So therefore, all the office holders at every level, they have to understand this responsibility. For the last 2-3 years, these terrorist people and the actions of such so-called ulama and scholars, they have defamed Islam so much, and the media has also exploited and highlighted this thing so much that recently there was a survey here in UK in which the Islamic terrorist, Islam being a terrorist religion, and the question was asked about whether they like the Muslim people or not. The majority of the people answered that Islam is a very terrorist religion, a religion of terrorism, and the Muslims are undesirable people. We don't like that they should continue to stay in this our country. And these people are very harmful for the country. While a few years back, when the survey was carried out, the result was totally different. And majority of the people, they considered the Muslims as good citizens. So in these circumstances, we must get this point very clearly, that how dedicatedly and with great effort, according to the way told to us by God Almighty, we have to perform the task of Tabligh. Allah Almighty, the very first thing which Allah Almighty has mentioned is that the preaching should be with wisdom. What is hikmah? The wisdom. The meanings are very elaborate. And for successful Tabligh, it's very essential that we know the real deeper meanings of hikmah, so that in our Tabligh, we must be keeping these points in front of us. One meaning of hikmah is knowledge. For Tabligh, the knowledge is very essential. Some people say that they get the excuse that we don't have the knowledge, therefore we cannot perform Tabligh. In this age, this excuse is no excuse at all. We should be, intellectual point of view, and Hadhrat Promised Messiah ﷺ has blessed us with such arguments, and these things are mentioned in Jamaat literature. It has been mentioned in such way that with little bit of effort, a person can get the intellectual strength from this information. And then the question answer session, audio video, cassettes are available, websites are there. Many people, when they are conveyed the message, when the non-Muslims, non-Ahmadis, when the message is conveyed to them, they say that we don't have the time for lengthy discussions. So then the pamphlets can be given to them, and you can give the address of the website. So those people who are interested, there are many of such people who really have the interest to know about Islam, and they don't have enough time, but later on they do get the information. So many people mention to me directly that in this way they got the information. So one thing is that first of all, pay attention to increase your knowledge, so that when you enter into intellectual discussions, then you should talk in such a manner and you should be of a very high standard discussion you can carry out, and moreover this should be to the knowledge of the people, that where the answer to these questions is found in our literature. The people related to various religions and the people who are totally denying the existence of God, according to their thinking and according to their thoughts, according to their arguments, you have to give the appropriate arguments in reply. And then the hikmat also means that it must be a very firm and strong argument which you give. The argument must be in itself very strong, nor to establish that point you have to give more and more arguments. And then to further you have to prove it that this argument is right. So instead of getting into lengthy discussions, just looking at the criticism and question, and then very solid argument should be presented, and that the allegation should be refuted with that. And this is also the duty of the Department of Tabligh, that such questions and allegations and the arguments in their rejection, that should be prepared. That should be prepared in one place, and then it should be made available to the Jamaats, so that more and more people, they can have the solid and very effective arguments should be available to the people. And then the meaning of hikmah is adal, the justice. Such allegations should not be made to the people if you are entering into a discussion, which can rebound and kick back on you. By the grace of Allah, in Jamaat Ahmadiyya, as a result of the tarbiyat and the literature by the promised Messiah and the literature of the Khulafa, normally this type of situation is not there. It does not happen. But the other ordinary Muslims or the people belonging to various religions, this thing is sometimes seen in there. The Muslims who are opposed to us, they raise such allegations against the promised Messiah, which can be again go to other prophets. And there are very highly placed people who, in their own understanding, those they consider themselves to be a great scholar, they put such allegations against the promised Messiah, which equally apply to other prophets. So regarding that, the Department of Tabligh, so they should compile these allegations and the answers, and this should be made available to the members of the Jamaat. And these things are being done since the time of the promised Messiah. And they used to criticize on the promised Messiah, but they also apply to their own religion and other prophets. And from that time onward, the promised Messiah ﷺ has also written the replies to these allegations from their own literature or from their own scriptures, or he told the people of those religions or the Muslims that this is not an allegation against Islam, but this was raised against Islam from the non-Muslims. The Department of Tabligh, as I said, they should pick up such allegations and they should be printed in small pamphlets and made available to the members of the Jamaat. If maximum number of people, if you have to involve maximum number of people in the task of Tabligh, then this effort and hard work has to be done by this department, and also they will have to spend a lot of money. And also the meaning of hikmah is forbearance and kindness. And there is great need of using your intellect and your kindness. If you speak with some anger element of anger, then people understand that you don't have the arguments. That is why a person in a very angry mood, he is replying. And even those people who show anger, you have to be very polite and gentle. And the people who criticize the teaching of Islam, so from the so-called, the anger of the so-called ulama, actually this is what has encouraged them to criticize Islam. Otherwise, if the matter was explained in a very gentle, dignified way, so then the whole allegation will finish there. Another meaning of hikmat is that according to that when we present the argument to someone and from the Holy Quran, which was revealed upon the Holy Prophet ﷺ, then according to we should do the preaching according to those principles. The people who criticize Islam are those people who criticize Islamic teaching, and those people who are impressed by that. I have seen that when you talk in the light of the verses of the Holy Quran, then they are generally very much impressed by that. So this meaning is also there. You stop the people from ignorance. So you have to talk in such a way which can be understood by other people easily, and his ignorance can be removed. The Holy Prophet ﷺ, he has also mentioned the same thing, that talk to the people according to their level of understanding. And then this meaning is also there, that according to the truth and according to the occasion you have to talk. Always speak the truth thing, and which is factual and true, and not this, that in order just to impress upon people, then contacts, you will be able to understand the temperament of other people. So therefore in our Tabligh activities, so there is a need to create a continuity in our efforts. It is not that in a year Huzur says that it should not be that in a year once or twice you celebrate the 10 days of Tabligh and you distribute the literature standing on roadside, and then you consider that we have done full justice to Tabligh. Nowadays, the people who have applied for asylum, many such people from various groups and backgrounds, they have come, and some of the people are very young, some are senior to them, and unless their cases are not decided, these people, they have got enough time and they are free most of the time. So all such people, according to their age and in their health, these people should offer themselves for the task of Tabligh, for the distribution of literature. They should offer their services and give more time for that. If they don't know the language, so then still they can go the literature and cassettes they can take, and if they have to distribute the literature on the roadside, then permanent plans should be made and a plan of distribution should be made. And these people who are seeking asylum, they can be used for this purpose. They can perform good work. It's a sawab and good deed, and reward will be there, and this task of Tabligh will be done, and through the blessing of that, maybe their cases are also accepted very quickly. Anyway, Huzur says that for Tabligh on a permanent basis should be established. These are some of the these guidance and this preparation and literature should be prepared, and it should go to the people, and these things should be implemented, and it should be done in such a way which is according to those meanings of hikmah which I have explained, in which the office holders, they should join in that, and those people who are living here for a long time, they should also join. That not only for asylum seekers, that only they should participate, but all the people, and Da'yan-e Khususi, the special preachers, they should not be Da'yan-e Khususi in the name, special preachers in name, but they should practically give more time, and they should come into this field of Tabligh, the condition of the world. And now to tell the people about that, we have to very openly tell the people what's the situation. And all this situation is there because you have completely lost yourself in the worldly pursuits. So now there is only one way, that you come back to God and you search for the true religion. Mu'izatul Hasana, the goodly exhortation that is mentioned there, this is a commandment. Although in the meaning of hikmah, this is covered in a way, the kindness and impressive way in the Tabligh should be done in that way. So Allah Almighty has mentioned the hikmah, the wisdom and goodly exhortation and solid argumentation, the commandment. Your duty is to Tabligh, to convey the message. And this truth has to be conveyed to all the people of the world. And the beauties of Islam and the teaching of Islam has to be explained fully to the people. That should continue doing it. A person is not knowledgeable about the unseen, so that I should go to such a person who is going to get the good effect of that. Nobody knows about that, whether the good result will come out or not. Allah Almighty says, this knowledge has not been given to you, whether somebody is going to get the good impression of your preaching or not. So therefore, according to this instruction of Allah Almighty, we are not responsible regarding the results. That evidence of Allah Almighty, why we did not act according to that one. Who has to get the guidance and who is not going to get the guidance. This is only in the knowledge of God. If we are performing our duties and obligation, so the people of the world won't be able to say to God, at least they won't say that we did not get the message of Islam. So what is our, where we are wrong and what's our, the blame comes to us. When some people think like that, but some the people, they do not understand this point and they do not accept the reality. Only few days ago, a missionary from a European country wrote to me that such and such people who met you in Germany, they participated in the Jalsa, and the Tabligh and the whole atmosphere, they liked it very much. And many a time they decided to do the Baitul. But then something comes in the way. So now Allah Almighty knows that whether he will be blessed with the fortune of doing this Baitul or not. But certainly we have to continue performing our duties. And we have to introduce the proper real teaching of Islam to that. We admit along with that apparently your arguments and your preaching is very full of wisdom. And many people asked me, and they ask in various places in the recent journey to Germany, and a journalist asked me, and our answer is only this one. We are only commanded to convey the message. We are not going to desist from that, and we are not going to be slacken in that. And we will continue to do that. Who is going to get the guidance and who is not going to get the guidance, this is in the knowledge of God. Our duty is simply to go on doing our duty. And along with that, the promise of God Almighty is that Allah Almighty and His Messenger, they are going to be victorious and become dominant. So therefore, we have all the hope that inshallah, God willing, the majority of the people, they would be with us. The promised Messiah ﷺ, explaining this verse which I recited in the beginning, he has mentioned certain points regarding himself. He says that how the opponents of Islam, they started to excite the sentiments of the promised Messiah, but despite that, acting upon this verse of the Holy Quran, how he did his best to take care of the situation and to suppress that anger. He acted that. He says that Allah Almighty knows that never ever we have in our reply, we have not let go this kindness and gentleness from our hand. And it never happened that we have not used the kind and the polite words, and we have never abandoned that. And always we have used the polite words. He says, except in that case where some of the opponents, they used very obnoxious and very aggressive language, and which is very desecrating. That language was there. So in becoming more angry on this and to create some disorder. So, but this powerful statement which we made, that was only acting upon this verse, وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. We just used it in a very wise way, in a strong way, because of the requirement of the situation. And if we have to be very firm, and that comes under this verse of the Holy Quran, this is as a good, wise approach, sometime suitable according to the situation. So you have to use certain words or the manner of speech to silence those people, and the reply should be given to such people in such a way. But generally, we have been very polite and very kind and gentle words. And this was for a very wise purpose. And that was only used at that time when their foul language and their style, they reached all the limits. And when they were using such filthy words regarding the most innocent Prophet, the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and the situation was such that maybe it is going to break that peaceful atmosphere. So when that situation goes to that extent, then in that situation, Jadilhum billati hi yasan, then the meaning of that would become that you can use a slightly strong attitude to make these people understand. So the real purpose is this, and that is only for the purpose of avoiding the disorder and fight. So in order to avoid the disorder and unrest, that is essential, and conveying the message is very essential. He did not adopt become so meek that we start to become the pliant, and we change our stance, and if they declare our prophet, the blessed prophet, as the liar, and if they declare a robber, the name given to Hadhrat Moses, so in that case, just to keep quiet is the right way? No, not at all. Rather, it is an element, and it is a condition of dishonesty. So we have to keep these things in mind, that we should not become pliant and changing our stance or hiding the truth. Not like that. So we should not go to that extent that as we have to do the preaching, that the sense of honor should be gone. But to a certain degree, sometime in their own words, those words have to be repeated back to them. So where the opponents, they go beyond the limit, and in their wording and the actions, when they go beyond the limits, and very filthy language is used, obnoxious words is used. So at that time, in order to suppress the situation of disorder, you have to give such a reply. And similarly, he said that kindness and meekness does not mean, as I mentioned earlier, that people should become like pliant, and they should change their stance, and irrational things, when they are mentioned there, anybody should be supporting that. The wisdom is in any way is very important, and that has to be maintained. The softness of tongue and moral is also very essential. But a wrong thing, it is also essential to call it a bad thing. And the word of hikmah, the meaning does not mean the cowardice, or it does not mean to support or agree with something which is incorrect. Nowadays, the worldly people, in the name of freedom, they have made certain laws. Such a question was raised in Germany recently, and on my answer, some people made negative comment on that as well. But the majority of the people, they understood it, that what is the reality. We don't have to fight with these people, but the thing which is wrong, that has to be said wrong anyway. And recently, a member of the political party in UK, about whom it was there that he would stand for becoming the leader of the political party, he announced, and he said that he cannot stand for becoming the leader because one thing, he is against the homosexuality, and both these things are such that he said that in our society, the people don't have the temperament to listen anything again. So that homosexuality is concerned, the Quran and the Bible, the nations who commit these vices, the punishment for these people is mentioned is in both the books. But the abortion, they have a different view about that. And they are political matters for the sake of religion, and don't become pliant. And not like they are not like us. These people who believe in the eternal final religion and the Sharia, we should be very, very strong, and with truth and wisdom, and with the strong arguments, we have to reject these notions. And neither for our own purposes we should be afraid of these things, nor because of this thing we should agree with that. The contact will finish if you talk with wisdom, and then no contacts are destroyed there or go away. And then Allah Almighty has mentioned, it has been mentioned earlier on, that those people who get the guidance, I know these people. So therefore, the guidance, if Allah Almighty has to give guidance to someone, then Allah Almighty will open up his heart. The office holders should pay special attention to that. Generally, I have seen that office holders sometimes they show weakness and cowardice in their expressions. One should not be afraid of opposition. Opposition open the way of Tabligh. The promised Messiah ﷺ says the more the falsehood rises for opposition, the more increases the strength of the truth. So it is known to the people that when the hot weather is, it's hot weather, it's very hot. Such examples we see these days as well. Recently in Germany, somebody who came from Aljazair, a very famous scholar was there. He came to see me. He said that your community is going through very hard time there in Jalza, but the introduction of the community and the Tabligh, that is actually all over the country, in all sections of the society, it has reached there, and the people are not aware of what the Jamaat means and what it says. And he said that this introduction that has now taken place may not have been taken place in 15 or 20 years as much as it has taken place as a result of the opposition. And the Ahmadis also, they write to me that now the conditions, when the conditions are going to become a bit better, then there are many areas where the people are almost ready to accept Ahmadiyya. So opposition or the fear of the worldly people should never be there in the minds at all. And along with that, hikmat, the wisdom, is very essential. This thing is also very important for Tabligh, that there should be compatibility between one's actions and doings. Whatever you say, you should also act upon that. And the words of hikmat come out of the mouth only in that case, and affect other people when your actions and words they are synchronized and compatible. Hadhrat Massih pointing out to this point on one occasion, he says that many mullahs and scholars, they go on to the pulpit, they declare, if these people have been doing like that, so why the Quran has mentioned lima taquluna ma la tafalun? This very verse says that the people who say but they do not do, so such people were there and they will be there in future. So remember this thing from me. He says that if from the conversation of a person is not from his sincerity and from his heart, that is not effective at all. And that is why in the Holy Prophet ﷺ, his truth is established from this very point, because that success and the effect that was given to him, there is no parallel of that in the whole history of mankind. And that was only done because his actions and words, there was complete compatibility between the two. And he said that, remember the point, advising us, he says that only the very flowery language and the speech is effective unless there are actions there, and the words do not carry any weight unless there is action. Allah Almighty says, kabura maktan an taqulu ma la tafalun, that it's a great sin that you say something which you do not do. And then says that a moment should not be working on duality. This cowardice and hypocrisy are the things, and your action and your words should be compatible. And as it was shown by the companions, you follow in their footsteps and you show the example of your loyalty and truthfulness. And then on one place giving the advice, he says that the protection of Islam, and in order to manifest the truth, the very first thing is this aspect, that you become the noble example of the true Muslims. And the second thing is that the beauties of this teaching and the excellencies of that you should spread in the world. First you become the example and then you do the Tabligh. So then the excellence could be spread. So therefore for Tabligh, you have to bring about change in your life. Change your example. The example of a true Muslim, if somebody becomes like that, so then there is no question that the people may not be paying attention to that. By looking at the example, people pay attention. And in this way, even before the Tabligh, the various paths of Tabligh, they get opened. So Allah Almighty enable us to act according to these words of wisdom.